Hi witches. Sorry for any background noise. It's my washing machine. I had to put a wash on this morning. This is the second part of learning to love your body as witch. There will be a third part which I'll mention a bit later on in the video. This one will list the things that have helped me or those I know to learn to love our bodies as witches. Learning some of the biology to understand how complex and amazing it truly is has been a big help to me. It's useful for the healers out there, but it's useful for everyone else too, because essentially you live in the body, you're asking it to perform, you want to be able to enchant people, and learning how the body actually works can give you that doorway in. For myself, I am doing a course at the moment that requires anatomy and physiology, and it's just really helping me to understand how amazing and complex the body is and how wonderfully it fights to keep you alive every day, stopping things we barely think about entering or transporting things out of the system. Just, even the most basic things like dust and pollen. The second point would be to go out into nature and connect with it. Now, this one is said by pretty much every witch around, but the more you feel a part of nature and the ecosystem and realise your own part in nature, the more you can see your body as a natural and beautiful thing. Coupled with learning more about the way it works, this really helps you to see how connected we all are. It can help, remembering this is my opinion, that working with spirits is a big part of witchcraft, and nature can be, for many, the best way to start. It can also help remove some of the disgust about the natural things the human body does, things that have been made disgusting as we've grown further apart from nature, the most famous of that being, of course, menstruation. Listing some of your body's positive aspects could really help. You can include in this spells which have involved physical movement that went well. Your body helps you to move energy. It's a big part of magic. The way that it does that is just amazing. How do you use your body in witchcraft? Think about that. Think about how you could use it. Could you dance or sing? Could you chant and raise the energy through chanting and really feeling it in the back of the throat? I have a song to call and direct Gaia's energy into my garden and plants. And I think singing can be a really vital way. And the singing, of course, comes from within you. That's really empowering that magic with an essence of you. Could you breathe life into spells again, that breath coming from within you? Or could you bring something magically to life through touch? Could you increase the heat of it by perhaps putting it on you whilst you are dancing? If you are trying to activate an amulet, for example, you could wear that amulet and dance up that energy, directing it into the amulet. Self-massage can be a really good way of getting to know your body better and is easily incorporated into spells. You could create a particular oil or a herbal or oil blend for a bath. It can be brilliant for a spell to heal your relationship with your body, or perhaps even for improving sleep, focusing on a particular spot of your body for healing, or even increasing self-confidence. An oil of ginger, neroli and celandine could be lovely as a massage oil of confidence. Now, some people would say that this is a bit new age, but I stick with it anyway. I practice yoga, and I think yoga can be really beneficial. Understanding what your body's capable of and how to influence it, plus how these things influence your mind. Understanding those can be really beneficial to magic and allow you to really step into the power that lies within uniting all of those things together. Any exercise done regularly for strength and also to practice progression and discipline can be good. Witches really need progression and discipline. We need discipline to learn the arts and to practice them. because at the end of the day, we're not at school being taught this. Unless we're in formal training with a coven or under another witch, no one else is going to take the responsibility. So it's down to us to really learn to hone those skills of pushing ourselves to progress, of disciplining ourselves to study things and to learn things. Often it can really feel like we're not disciplining ourselves as such because we enjoy it so much. You know, we want to get our teeth into it. We want to read constantly about it. So it's not dulling it down and making it seem boring at all. But just honing those skills can be good for the times when you would rather do something else, or perhaps you need something for a certain spell, even if you're doing something for somebody else, which perhaps you don't find you don't find that inspiring. It's not your biggest interest. But learning the skill of discipline and pushing yourselves to progress in that area can be really good. Committing to exercise can be one of the best ways of developing those skills whilst benefiting your body at the same time. You could perhaps create a program for yourself, or you could just use videos on YouTube. I use a video with, I think her name is Simone de la Rue, as a daily thing. I just fit it in. I know it so well now that it's quite nice. I can use it to be in the moment in my own body, or I can use it to think about other things going on if I want to. The important thing here is that the exercise mustn't be done to abuse your body. That's so easy to do. It has to be done to support your body. I've definitely noticed when I'm stronger and fitter, my magic is better. And that's not thinner, that's not fatter, that is stronger and fitter. Make note of how your magic changes if you're doing this as your body gets stronger. Make note of whether you find it more easy to do trance work or healing, perhaps, whether you're more receptive to spirits or the fair folk as you exercise and progress and become stronger and fitter. Recording those notes can also be useful if you then at some point fall ill. Most people will get something along the lines of the flu or tonsillitis, which takes a lot out of you. And as you're recovering, you can then sort of gauge where you are when it's safe to then practice magic again, rather than needing that energy for healing. You can also gauge how much time you can then feel able to put into spirit or fair folk work, and it's much easier to then not push yourselves too hard as you're recovering. Now this next one goes for every person learning to love their body, but it's taking the focus away from size and focusing on health. Stop looking for weight gain or loss. Don't measure yourself, don't weigh yourself. Start looking for improvements in health. Obviously, if you are losing weight or perhaps gaining weight for medical reasons, then you may have to weigh or measure yourself for that period of time, of course. And if you have an ongoing problem, you may need to keep an eye on it every so often. However, the focus must be away from that and on the improvements in health. You know, can you walk the school run easily now, whereas before you were out of breath if you walked it? Do you notice that your knees used to get sore after climbing the stairs at work, but now you don't notice that? Do you feel more full of energy? Do you notice that you used to be exhausted when your alarm went off and now you wake naturally at that time? Did you used to slump at 4 p.m. and now feel more energetic much later than that? It's really good to record these things, and also just to take stock of them yourself, really, as you're climbing those work stairs. You know, oh, this knee used to twinge a lot, but it feels good today, that sort of thing. And thanking your body for that, and thanking yourself for doing that to your body and looking after yourself better. The next one's a bit of a strange one. It's more a personal realization, but it's one that really made a difference to me, and so I wanted to share it. It's something I remind myself of in a similar way to the way you might use a mantra at a difficult moment. And it could in fact be turned into a mantra if you wanted to turn it into a mantra. It sounds ridiculously simple, so I ummed and ahed about putting it in, but it has taken my entire life up to this point to truly take it in. And that is realizing that life is too short. And it sounds cliche, it sounds silly, but for me, I imagined and pictured a life abusing my body, imagine the exhaustion that stopped me doing all the things I love, the weakness that left me unable to mother properly. And I decided that I didn't want that. It was nowhere near that simple, of course. But breaking down what I wanted out of life and looking at whether I could achieve those things and how the future would look if I carried on abusing my body compared to how it would look if I chose to start taking care of myself was a really big step. It is an exercise that you can try if you want to, especially if you actively abuse your body with denying it food or denying it sleep, having too much food, or any other abusive or addictive behaviour that really affects your body. And in reality, almost all of them that I can think of, abusive and addictive behaviours, do affect your body, because you are your body and your spirit. At the time that I realised life was too short, I'd gone through some very difficult experiences. I was feeling very aware of death, of my age, and of time lost to abusing my body across my life. That made me really consider the future. And as I was already a witch, I just really wanted to awaken a deeper magic within myself and realise that could only happen with strength, with loving my body. To become strong and healthy, I needed to love my body. I needed to not just love it in my mind, but in my actions. I needed to truly think about what I was doing. And I think that realization was such a pinnacle moment for me that I needed to mention it in this video, really. As witches, we are often at a great point for focus on the next point I'm going on to. And I'll come to that in a minute after I've gone through the point a little bit more. There are some things we can't control about the body, but there are others that we can, and our diet is one of them. Diet is so crucial to the body being healthy. There is lots of information out there, so I'm not going to go into it all, and also that would be hundreds of videos to go into diet properly. However, do remember that the health of your gut, balanced gut flora, etc., impacts your all-round health. It impacts, doesn't just have the big impacts that people think of, such as constipation and bloating or acne, but in some cases it also causes seizures, poor immune system responses, hives, obviously exhaustion, but lots and lots of different things. So it's really, really worth. I think actually now some people have linked chronic fatigue syndrome to infections, and I think there are some links to imbalance of gut flora and antibiotics as well, because antibiotics can really imbalance your gut flora. And it can be very important if you have recently taken antibiotics to really get your gut flora going again with probiotics and prebiotics. Do some miso stir fries, eat yogurt, etc. There's lots of information out there, but that's just a starting point. Diet is really important, and you might find if you can give your body a good diet, you won't get so frustrated with it either, because it will respond better. Don't persuade yourself that your body is different to everyone else's and that diet somehow doesn't affect you, even though it affects everyone else, because I have learned out the hard way. Diet affects everybody's body. Diet can also really affect mental health. Mood and emotions can be really affected by it. It can be really helpful to keep a food diary to see if particular things affect your emotions. Perhaps too much caffeine makes you anxious, or high carbohydrates make you snappy. You could keep an overall food diary. If you suspect one thing, you could focus on just recording when you have that one thing and what happens after. But although I have known people that do that, I would have a big preference with recording everything generally, because it might be that you've missed a pattern. For example, it might be that you, I don't know, tend to eat carbohydrates around your period, and therefore it could be your period that's affecting your moods, etc., etc. So just yeah, I would always go with the all-round if possible. If you're doing this to help with an illness, for example, there are studies out there and there is information out there that relate to things like bipolar, depression, etc. And obviously, if you're doing this food diary and recording things to help with an illness, and you discover something and you decide to try out changing your diet, don't suddenly come off your meds. And if you're looking to come off them, then you do need to talk to your doctor first and do it under doctor supervision, because it can be very dangerous stopping medication. Sorry, checking on the cat. Also, to mention on this point, there are so many extremes out there, extreme diets, extreme beliefs surrounding diet. Unfortunately, it's become a really big part of society that pretty much all of us have warped views. I've noticed in the people I know that people have big portion sizes, plates are massive, for example, and it can then be very confusing about, you know, if you're only filling up a certain amount of the plate, that can look very odd, and so people don't realise that that is in fact a portion size. And equally, people don't realise that cutting out food completely, you know, going on severe diets, I'm not going to mention any, I don't want to get, I don't really want to go there, to be honest. But there are extreme diets, extreme beliefs, and so much misinformation surrounding diet. So if you want to alter your diet and you really want to get the best diet for you, then you do need to go to a reliable source and find out which way works for you in your own body. Ask questions about the information you find. Don't be afraid to challenge information. If you like, use Google Scholar to look up reliable studies. Contact a nutritionist or a dietitian who knows about how diet is and what the fads are and what the misinformation is. You can also contact some herbalists may know, medical herbalists. You can find them in England, at least at the National Institute of Medical Herbalists. But yeah, contact a dietitian or a nutritionist, and you can always try and arrange a call with them rather than going in to see them as a sort of non-monetary option. As a witch, of course, this is where witching comes in. Do a little kitchen witchery, stir some magic into your food, brew potions to help you on your way out of herbs or spices. If you find that actual meal times are too hectic to perform magic, then create a spice or a herbal mix or a sauce or something like that, and do your spell at a good time for you, and then have it readily available in the kitchen or nearby to add to the food. I think almost every mum and many other people, including students or those that share houses, can find witchery at the time of cooking. Isn't always possible. Now, before the next one, I want to say that I'll be covering menstruation in another video, as I found I had a lot more to say and I didn't want to try and squeeze it into this one. So the next point is that it's really good to turn cycles that have bothered you before into something positive. So does the sleep cycle bother you? Do you feel like you're wasting time when you're sleeping? Does menstruation frustrate you? Do the cycles of testosterone levels frustrate you? Do the seasons turning to darkness make you feel tired or low? All of those things and more. Looking into biology can really help with this, but you can also help in other ways. Turn those cycles into something positive, understand them, find things to help quell difficult effects. For example, some studies found that ginger can be as effective as ibuprofen at relieving menstrual cramps. Some people also get nausea with their monthly bleed, and so it would be useful here as well. Cinnamon and clove oil can be useful pain relievers. If your libido is too high, which is something almost never covered in books, you often see things about increasing libido and helping those with erectile dysfunction or low sex drive. but you often don't see where high libido is a problem. So chasteberry or perhaps hops and valerian may work for you. I know that hops and valerian has been quite successful with some men who have very high libidos. And it can also improve sleep as well, so you can take it as a nighttime remedy for that. And some people with high sex drive do find that it affects sleep, so it can really help in both ways there. Create nice routines around these cycles as well. If sleep is difficult and frustrating, turn it into something positive. Listen to a favourite audiobook for an hour with the lights off before bed, drink some tea, and then introduce a dream pillow, and keep notes on your dreams. Ask the spirits to speak to you within sleep. You'll actually often find that if you have relationships with spirits, they do give you messages in your dreams. You could also light some gentle incense and use that time to meditate with a crystal and note down the findings, or perhaps connect with your spirit guides or deity and do a tarot spread or throw some bones. And also, as a witch, of course, you can perform a spell to help you along. So a spell that encourages better sleep, or any spell to help with the cycles. Really, you might want to do one to lessen pain in menstruation. That really applies to all the problems. As a witch, there are so many things you can do that can really empower you, because you can help to sort out the problems within your life, and that's a truly amazing thing, especially if you're getting to know and love your body better as you go. There are lots of other ways you can learn to love your body, and I can't fit them all in this video, so I thought I'd just start with some basics, but I would love to hear some of your ideas, and I will be back really soon with a video on menstruation and how we can relate that to magic. Bye guys.